So I am actually okay with this. Yeah, I know you're probably surprised. You clicked on this video. You're expecting me to just go on a tirade about how Nintendo is clearly not allowing early access for reviews for the Nintendo Switch 2 because they think it's gonna flop and they're afraid of what the reviewers are gonna say. And this is just more proof that the Nintendo Switch 2 is actually a terrible console and nobody's gonna buy it because it's just gonna be such a underwhelming device. But no, actually, I think the primary reason Nintendo is not giving any early review copies to review outlets is because they want to go hard against leakers. They want to go hard against people that are going to upload their stuff online quicker. They don't want anybody to be glorified by what they view as an immoral act. They're being overprotective of their IP, sure, but of all of the offensive things Nintendo has done, this one's okay for me. I don't really care that much. Maybe they just felt burnt by Genki, so now they're punishing every other partner or journalist or outlet that has any kind of connection with them. But either way, yeah, I don't really care too much about Nintendo doing this. But don't worry, I still got somebody I want to call out. How about we talk about every single journalist, every single news outlet, every single reviewer, that now, all of a sudden, that they are not getting early access, nor are they getting their free product. Now is when they are deciding to speak out against Nintendo. It's ironic, isn't it? We entrust these people to review our products that we want to buy, and yet they are given so many clear biases and so many clear advantages from these companies that they're supposedly objectively analyzing their products. And now they've become so accustomed to it, so self-entitled towards these things, that for the first time in a very long time, I've heard them mention Nintendo's hubris. I've heard them comment about how risky this is for Nintendo to do. And I've finally heard them mention something along the lines of Nintendo being backwards and going against the norms. This was what triggered them. The fact that they actually have to go out of their way and be a regular pleb, spend hours upon hours playing and reviewing and exhausting themselves to get the product out, because if they don't, somebody else might actually give a better opinion than them. Somebody else might actually have an objective analysis and create a bit of a following for being a small-time reviewer that isn't tied to these benefits. These review channels and these articles and these various forums have a very similar idea floating around. They are now warning their readers and their listeners and their biggest fans about all of the upcoming reviews. They're telling people they should be cautious because now anybody can review this and anybody can give their opinion on the matter, which means that there is no quality control. There's no accountability, and the reviews are going to be awful and they shouldn't be trusted because since they don't get paid for this, their opinions aren't valid. But as far as I am concerned, this has a net benefit. I am not a critic. I am a user. Although, I guess maybe I am now a critic because I've been criticizing for the past month, but that's besides the point. When I'm buying games, I'm not a critic. I'm a player, I'm a gamer, I'm a user. So I care significantly more about the user reviews because those are people that are buying these games to play them, the same way that I am. I discussed this a few videos ago, but all of these big-time journalists that do this for a living, they are in such a different world than I am. Again, I as a gamer, that I can't possibly imagine how their opinion would get swayed if they were given something for free and asked to review it. I'll tell you guys something funny I read one time. A few months ago, after Donkey Kong Country Returns HD came out, I was following a thread of people complaining about the price. You know, the usual stuff that comes up whenever a Nintendo remake comes up at 60 bucks. Naturally, for the most part, they were very negative opinions of the price, sprinkled in by a few people defending the game for being $60. Many of you will know that I am fairly indifferent on the price of this kind of stuff because I can see somebody paying for the ability to have it on the go, or just in general thinking that it's worth it to play the $60 game that they haven't played since they were a kid and they no longer have a Wii. There's so many factors that could make this worth it for somebody. For me, it wasn't because I still have a Wii and I still have Donkey Kong Country Returns, so I didn't care about the HD visuals. In any case, amongst all of the hate and discussion regarding the price of the game, I read a comment that was equally hilarious and enlightening. Someone straight up said, I downloaded this game a few days ago before launch because my Switch is modded and it is absolutely amazing. I don't care too much about the price because I'm not going to pay the price anyway. Basically, they said something along those lines. Now, I don't want to glorify an individual that downloads a game illegally, but I think there's a lot to learn from his statement. The individual did not have the price on the back of his mind when playing this game, which effectively means he could not relate to the discussion. Everybody else playing this game was talking about how good it was or wasn't, and relating it to the dollar value. Like someone would say something along the lines of, yeah, 60 bucks is a little steep, but it was still enjoyable and I think it was worth the price. While another person would say something along the lines of, well, this is a fun game, but at $60, I think that's way too expensive. Maybe at $40, it would have been worth it. So the idea of how fun the actual game is was entirely contingent upon their opinions of whether or not it's worth the dollar value. But that modder? Nah, he don't care. He got it for free. This game's fun as hell. It's Donkey Kong. Of course it's fun as hell. Now imagine if you were somebody that received this game for free, and not only received the game for free, it came in a nice package, maybe even included a fun customized letter from the developer, a cute little plushie that only you get access to. And then now you have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people waiting for your review of this game that you just got, of this console that you just received, and all of a sudden now you're supposed to be objective? Oh, but don't worry, at the start of the video, they always say, hey, for transparency purposes, I gotta let you know that I received this for free, but that's not gonna affect my opinion. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, that's gonna affect your opinion. In many cases, it will affect your opinion. I'm not gonna say it's always the case. Obviously, there are people that will still be able to give out an objective analysis on these things, but the ability to remove that subconscious bias, that's very hard. And that's part of the reason why I cannot relate to somebody that is reviewing something that they received for free when I know that I'm going to be paying for it. I mean, just think about your favorite Nintendo YouTuber. I'll name drop a couple of guys, I got nothing to hide, and I think their work is phenomenal. I genuinely enjoy Alex from Nintendo Life, and I always look forward to hearing the opinions of John Cartwright from Good Vibes Gaming. Amongst many others, of course, but those two are probably two of my favorite YouTubers in the Nintendo sphere right now. When I think about their content, anytime they've ever covered something that just came out or was going to be coming out soon, something about the content just feels off. Like, part of it makes it feel like they're trying to avoid spoilers, and another part of it makes me wonder, like, how much effort they were putting in to get this video out in time. And it might just be a mental block that I have, and it's actually good content, but I've never been able to shake that feeling of how they actually feel about the game. Now, contrast that with something that they cover years later. Like if a game was released and then they talk about it a year later or 2 years later, or maybe they're covering a game from their childhood, and then they give their opinions on the matter. Even if it's a bare bones discussion and they're not going in depth, their content is just so much more appealing to me when I hear it that way. It's legitimately part of the reason why I love doing retrospective videos so much. It's because I get to put in all the time and effort to really enjoy the game and talk about my pure, unfiltered, unaltered thoughts on the titles that I can then share with the viewer, the listener. This is probably a good time to point out that at some point this summer, I am going to cover Banjo and Kazooie. I just don't know when it's gonna be, but keep an eye out over the next few months. And obviously, very soon I will wrap up playing Mario Galaxy 2 and I can finish the last few videos on that as well. So keep an eye out for those, and obviously throughout all of this, I will continue doing these Nintendine Talks videos because I feel like this has been a very good avenue to discuss some of the greater issues in the gaming industry, and in the world really. But my point is, even when it's my favorite content creator, when they're reviewing something that just came out, I don't really care much for that opinion. I feel like it's just not the true feeling they might have towards the game. And that's largely because their opinion comes without all of the baggage of being an actual gamer. And it's not their fault, it's just part of the industry, it's part of the job. I don't review video games for a living, but I can give you a similar idea. This is always a funny discussion that comes up with my friends and I. I have many friends that refuse to fly on a budget airline. I won't share any names, but it's the yellow one. They always talk about how poor the quality is, the amount of delays, and all that other fun stuff. Meanwhile, I can't get enough of it because I am a cheapo, and anytime I see that there's a cheap flight to get somewhere else, I will book it. It makes the experience more fun. All the while, I will blindly defend this airline, and I will say things along the lines of, well, yeah, they have delays sometimes, but every other airline has delays, and yeah, the chairs are uncomfortable, but every other airplane also has uncomfortable chairs, and I'll just find any reason to justify my reasoning for picking that budget airline. Now, what ends up happening, however, is that whenever my company is sending me to fly somewhere, all of a sudden, I no longer have to pay for the flight. I might get a budget, I can't book anything in first class, for example, but I don't have to worry about the price of the seat, I don't have to worry about the carry-ons, I don't gotta worry about the meals, nothing. All of a sudden, the yellow airline is no longer my favorite choice. Like, yeah, it was a great airline when I was paying, but if I am not paying for it, why would I not go for the better experience? And you know what? That better experience is worth every penny, as long as it's my boss's penny and not mine. I have flown on that yellow airline dozens of times at this point in my life, but I have never chosen that yellow airline if somebody else is paying for the flight. All of a sudden, the red airline is worth the extra couple $100. Do you guys kind of see the connection that I'm making here? Whether you are or are not paying for something makes a very big difference on how you feel about the experience overall. And not just that, when something is your job or it's something that you do just for the fun of it, even if your job is fun, there is an inevitable bias that you cannot remove when you are reviewing or analyzing an experience. And genuinely, I think this is a net positive for the Switch 2 and for the industry as a whole. I hope this becomes common practice. I am excited to find out which YouTuber may rise from the ashes of the Switch 2 launch because they released a phenomenal review a week after release date, or maybe even a few days after the release, because so many people will be starved for that kind of content. Legitimately, if I was not so hung up against buying the Switch 2, I would absolutely be releasing like an hour-long overview and review of the entire console within like 2 days of the release, because I know this would be an amazing opportunity. And I also know for a fact that the media outlets and the larger YouTube channels will hate that I am on the same playing field as them. Maybe not me personally, they probably haven't even heard of me, but what I represent. And that is the potential of a small creator that might end up catching the ears and eyes of thousands, if not tens of thousands of people. Do you guys remember all of the names that started to get big because of the Wii U? Because I do. Nobody was covering the Wii U because it was a failure based off of Nintendo's own metric. And that allowed so many popular Nintendo YouTubers to get big because not many people were covering the console. And when the Switch came out, all of those Wii U defenders just exploded in popularity. And then because the Switch just kept growing in popularity and growing, more and more YouTubers got out there and developed a fan base, and some of them are still releasing phenomenal content. Many others just kind of became typical YouTubers, but that's besides the point. The point is that with every new generation of console, specifically in the Nintendoverse, I'm sure this is the same elsewhere as well, but I'm kind of in the Nintendo bubble for the most part. But with every major release, whether it's a console or just one of those system sellers, there is generally a new star that arises. And I am actually excited to see what kind of content creators the Switch 2 births. I mean, it helped me, but that's a whole other story. It kind of just made me start calling out BS in the gaming industry. But I will say this, if I happen to organically come across somebody's video, and when I say organically, I mean literally I'm just scrolling through my YouTube homepage and some video pops up and it catches my eye and I listen to it, and it turns out this like YouTuber with 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers is just doing an amazing review on the Switch 2. I'd probably give that person a shout out on my channel. This isn't like an offer, like don't sit there and email me or post it in my comment section because I can't guarantee that I'll have the time to watch anything you share with me. But if it happened organically, I would definitely give somebody a shout out because I think this is a good time to see new content creators kind of flex and get out there. And I say this as somebody that has been doing this for 4 years. Although in the first 3 years, I'd be taking 6 months breaks every now and then because I have a child or something. But it has been almost a year to the date since I have uploaded weekly. A year ago today, I was only at 1,000 subscribers. So it took me 3 years of YouTubing to get to 1,000 and 1 year to make it to close to, what am I at? Roughly 16,000. So I know how hard it is when you're still just starting out and you're still small. I still very much consider myself just starting out and small. And that's one thing I never want to forget. I never want to feel like I am entitled to anything because I give reviews or share my opinion online. And I don't think other YouTube channels should either. I know it's ironic because we're talking a little bit about Nintendo's hubris and assuming that they can just succeed for being Nintendo. But if you're a big channel, you're already going to get the people that want to listen to you. and you're still going to go out there and buy the console, and you're still going to have so many advantages because you have a large team of people that are going to help you out with it, and you're going to write everything off as a business expense, or you might not even have to pay because you have a boss that owns the channel, whatever the case may be. You'll be fine, don't worry about it. But this is an amazing opportunity for young content creators. And I am fully aware that there is no chance in hell that Nintendo is doing this for those small content creators. Legitimately, there is no angle here where they are the good guy. That is not even remotely what I'm trying to imply. But because of their hubris, or because of their fear of leaks, or whatever the logic they're using to not allow people to have early access to the Switch 2, I think it is undoubtedly a net positive benefit for the industry and for the gaming community, and I so hope that this becomes regular practice. And I'm not naive, I don't think it's actually going to become a thing, but imagine how nice it would be if there was no early access and no review copies, and we could just go back to normal, random dudes going to the store, buying something, going online, talking about how much they enjoyed it. If their opinions are good and the quality is good, they will rise up. And if not, well, the big channels are going to do it too anyway, so it's not like we're going to lose that. Either way, I just wanted to share my thoughts on all of this because it seems like it was breaking news and it was relevant to something that I had been thinking about for a while. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I will catch you on the next one.